we'll talk about KYC the internet. And this is it's topical because the UK has a new Online Safety Act law that is having reverberations around the world, and including British people who are running into a bunch of obstacles. But it's just a latest example of like a trend towards KYCing just any basic internet access. Sort of flies in the face of being able to participate on the internet as a NIM, and anonymous. So
one major question. I mean, it seems like I've started to see a lot more of these things happen. Like, I mean, I've seen some more, let's say, conspiratorial people in Bitcoin Twitter, but is it really conspiracy if it's right? Be like, okay, they're kind of closing off the exits, shutting down like more access points to the internet. I don't want to get too whatever hyperbolic about it, but like it does seem like a lot of this stuff is like accelerating recently. And I don't know what the trend is. My guess is it has something to do with AI, that a lot of people realize, okay, we're about to have like recursive, like learning AIs soon. And somehow that's like sort of increasing the urgency to do this. I don't know. What's your take?
Well, I haven't studied it, but my assumption is that Occam's razor is that it's like trying to save children, like well-intentioned. Yeah.
Well, I forgot. Was this one packaged as children or terrorism? I forget which one.
But no, I mean, I haven't studied it, so like I don't know. But I just assume like the people who are coming up with these laws are. I mean, because like in the UK, like 80% of citizens approve this law.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's very popular.
The fuck?
Yeah,
because it's shrouded in a like save children or prevent terrorism.
It is a similar thing that I studied a little bit more about, which is probably a similar pattern. Remember a few years ago, Apple changed, Apple's always taken very strong privacy stances, but they changed their software so that photos on your phone could be in the background without your control, scanned, and then uploaded to the FBI and different intelligence agencies.
I missed this.
I missed that.
What?
I didn't see it. You didn't share it in the group chat. It didn't happen.
Yeah, come on, Steve.
I mean, this is like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
That's pretty concerning.
And it's to save children. I mean, it's like child pornography. So like if they're like, so basically there'd be a list of content that is illegal. And they lead with child pornography, which the vast majority of people would agree.
Yeah, of course.
That would, that's horrible. And if there's tools that we can use to prevent that, let's use those tools.
Well, what do they add next? Right?
So the tool here was, okay, a 3-letter agency has a list, is not provided to Apple. They just get like hashes, and they do
hashes of images,
hash matching.
This is like an image.
So on your phone right now, like it's matching against your photos, and if there's a match, then like you get outed to the authorities, and then they'd investigate it. So that was announced and launched, I think, something like 3 years ago.
Damn.
And then they faced massive backlash because obviously that can be abused, because then what you start with something that like almost everyone agrees, but then like you keep adding more crimes, slippery slope, and then also it's just like massively crosses a line where they're like analyze. Like I think most humans believe the photos I take on my phone are my property. I don't want the government snooping them. Right?
Yeah, I actually didn't think Apple could do that. I mean, I guess
of course they control the software on the phone.
I guess this just shows
just like with self-custody wallets. I mean, if they want, they can update the software to just like upload everyone's keys to the cloud. They can do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've gone deep in the debates about like server versus a computer you hold in your hands and a computer that's in the cloud. It's not.
That seems very different to me.
Well,
but when you want a service like, hey, we got to back up your stuff in case you drop it in the ocean.
But I thought that was encrypted.
It sounds like it's in service of the user. But
okay, let's go there. So like, it is different in some ways, but not. It's just because you hold your phone in your hand doesn't mean you have full control over it. A, you have no idea what software is running in your phone.
Well, it seems like an opportunity for someone to build something that is like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, they've been market failures, right? Yeah. Anyone trying to create something privacy oriented is a market failure. But anyway, the point is, Apple introduced that, and also with iMessage, some kind of like child protection. So it's just a similar pattern. So I think it's like well intended to protect children. my guess would be for this law that it is well intended, trying to save children, and it has like massive popularity and support by the citizens. But all like within a week of launching, I sent that article out. There's like 10 different examples of like probably unintended consequences for adults that make the internet like way harder to use or onerous or impossible to use, or you lose privacy. Like situations where you want to ask a question or get information or communicate without revealing yourself, and it puts you at physical safety risk. All of a sudden now it's like, oops, we didn't think of that.
So we have someone in the chat that also says, bit simple, Julie Immingrant is Australia's e-safety commissioner. In this role, she leads the world's first government regulatory agent committed to keeping its citizens safer online. So I guess something just happened in Australia too. I guess I would like to believe that, and maybe it's true. Maybe it is just Occam's razor, but it does seem like if it's happening in Britain, if it's happening in Australia, I guess we kind of had Brazil last year a little bit. Like, I don't know. It does seem like it's accelerating. Maybe it's just the fact that now they can do this, but I guess I would question, why is it happening today and not a year ago or 2 years ago? Or,
well, I think, look, again, I don't know. But there's just more and more data and information now about internet activity, social media, et cetera, and the harms it has on teenagers and children.
Which is also
like that's
true.
becoming more evident now than obviously like 10 years ago, it wasn't even a thing. And we have now have a body of data. So I think there's plausible answers to all these questions. Now, is it also conspiratorial, part of the big reset? Like maybe. Either way, it doesn't really matter, because like whatever the rationale is, there are these repercussions and concerns that we care about, I think, and we should be discussing. So that's what makes BitChat and Nostr very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, because I guess you mentioned AI. That could be another driver, right? So which gets to proof of human.
Right.
And we've talked about that on the show, and like, is it even important or not? That's an interesting debate. But we did conclude there's at least certain use cases where it's very important, like dating apps or any app where you're going to meet someone in person. You don't want to be tricked online where you're talking to a bot and
no catfish.
Either like waste your time because no one shows up, or like it's some other shenanigan or something, right? Or worse. So there it's valuable. And there also might be sentiment where humans just want to know they're interacting with humans, independent of the rational argument that you should be judging it based on the quality of the content or whatever. So how do we get proof of human? We've talked about WorldCoin. We're all very concerned about that. Another is government IDs. So another trend is like, and that, so do we see social media requiring passport upload to even use it? Like, will we see a day where X, like you just to battle the bots, you have to upload your passport and maybe even like, your utility bill and like super onerous KYC just to participate in social media? And is that going to be driven by corporations or the law
or both?
Yeah.
It's a really good point. And I think it gets to stuff you talked about, which BitChat, like double opt-in friending as proof of humanhood, is like a really important alternative web of trust. And similarly, I mean, I love this Callie, tweet / Nostr post where he's just like, look, Nostr is becoming so important right now. Like, it's the only free internet left. I think that's probably true. I mean, yeah. And I don't know, it makes our stuff more important than ever. What's your take, DK? Do you think this is all driven by trying to defeat the bots?
Which part? Having KYC everywhere?
Yeah, like requiring everyone to put up their ID.
I think people, there's always a good soundbite, and I think a lot of people are very responsive to a good soundbite. So if you say protect children, get rid of the terrorists, I think a lot of people will hear that, they'll believe it, they'll repeat it. So I think if you want to make progress on this, I think you have to speak to somebody who would be kind of tricked by that soundbite and not expect them to be one of us who kind of already gets it, but kind of explain why KYC may have some benefits, but it also has some severe drawbacks, and what do those drawbacks look like? So like, I don't know, like imagine you have, I have a neighbor who I think he's generally a good dude, but like, every once in a while we get talking about like fact checking. He's like, well, let's just, I want to have Facebook fact check things for me. I'm like, that's crazy. You don't want a fact check. Like, well, things that are facts should be facts. Should just be, fact checked. was like, well, yeah, but the interesting stuff is at the edge of what is a known fact. Like, what year is it? It's 2025. It's a fact, fine. But the stuff that's not known, it's the frontier of what is human knowledge, what can be verified. That's the only thing that's interesting. Like, is COVID a thing? Is our vaccines a thing? Like, all of that, those are questions that people should be asking and trying to get answers on. And I feel like it's the frontier of what is well known and what is not known and possible, where it's interesting to try to digest it. And I think in the KYC discussion, it's similarly like, what is the frontier of where, like, okay, if it's just child pornography or CSAM or it's terrorist stuff, everybody can agree to that. What is the frontier where people might start to disagree? And then can we talk about those cases? Because that's the stuff I feel like I'd like to hear more about. Like is KYC useful for, like, I guess you're mostly proponents of non-KYC everything, but are there areas where you'd be swayed to say, like, let's KYC some stuff, and who should do that?
Well, I think, again, the question is, how do you KYC and who's doing it, right? Like, I agree. Like, proof of humanhood is a very interesting thing, or proof of, like, someone I trust. But I think there's ways to do that decentralized, bottoms up, and ways to do it tops down. Now, like, are there certain, use cases where you do want to do that? Look, I mean, I think, again, getting older, like, there are certain cases where, I mean, like, you're the pirate and you're like, the state's always evil. And it's like, well, that's not always true. Like, sometimes the state actually does good things, and, like, it's always messy. It's in between. Things are always shifting.
I'm not getting that far, but
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Steve's buttoning up his shirt there. But I just think, I think that's a good way of doing it. But I also think another way to win people over is to offer, again, incredible experiences that they'll just won't be able to get otherwise. And so, if KYC sort of shuts down the free and open internet, then, I don't know, the kids want Skibbity Cash, and Skibbity Cash is only available on Nostr. Because, I don't know, some lady, who's 60 years old or something thinks Skibbity Cash is bad for the kids. Well, the kids disagree. So let the kids, kids have Skibbity. I don't know.
Free Skibbity.
Free Skibbity.